Thank you very much, Matt. Yeah. It's an ancient tradition at the opening of many Dharma trainings to explore and take what we call the Three Refuges. For us here on retreat, we can think of the refuges as, well, refuges or safe harbors for us at times of possible challenge. And retreats can, and this one may well be, challenging. For residential retreats, the refuges are guides and supports that you mostly seek inside yourself when you're faced with these challenges. Particularly, and listen up on this one, when your level of distress rises above a 6 on a 10-point scale. And so by 6 we mean, by distress we mean either emotional distress, physical pain, or mental suffering, and that would be, like obsessive thoughts that are, kind of driving you crazy, right? And these refuges will serve you well in that kind of difficulty, especially if you don't have a group practice meeting upcoming or an individual meeting. And as a caveat, though, for the new practitioners, I'd like you to leave me a note if your distress is above a 4. 4, right? Yeah. This is a short retreat, and there may not be much distress, or there may be a great deal of it. In many ways, that's why we're here, is to learn to meet our distress or reactivity in ways that we don't usually do. More skillful ways. So distress isn't a bad thing. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of overlap in this retreat, in the refuge talk, with the one that I gave in the fall, e-group, because I wanted our visitors to experience these particular refuge teachings. So the Three Refuges, as many of you know, are the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The refuge of the Buddha can often seem the most off-putting, since it could seem like he might be some kind of like deity or supreme religious figure, but not so. He's just a human being like any of us, a seeker, yeah. But he was and is still considered the epitome of wisdom and compassion and action. Which makes sense, since Buddhist teachings contain both wisdom and heart teachings, wisdom, heart. So when we take refuge in the Buddha, we can consider this vast pool of wisdom and compassion that he had, and we can draw maybe on some teachings that we might know if we have a practice, or we can remember the wisdom and compassion and awareness that's already in us, we can call on these inner energies. We're all wiser than we know. So we say that everyone here has Buddha nature. So we all have a compassionate heart, we all have wisdom, and we all have awareness. And so at times of challenge, you might remember that. So you can call on your own wisdom. You can ask yourself what the Buddha would say if you know what the Buddha would say. You can ask what I might say if you know me, or what another teacher might say. But particularly, you may have a relative, a grandparent, somebody dear to you even, who has been of support for you in your life. Maybe unconditionally loving and wise, and you can invoke the memory of them as well. Yeah. So we're going to do a guided practice now to get a sense of how you might invoke the wisdom and compassion of the Buddha at times of difficulty. So closing eyes, softening the body for a moment. Take a mindful breath or two. And then bring to mind some kind of suffering you've faced in your mindfulness practice, or if you're new to mindfulness, just some kind of suffering you've had in your life at one point or another. But let it be no higher than a 4 on the distress scale. Could be a time when there were a lot of difficult emotions, very challenging thoughts, or physical pain, or even a mix of these. And recall the suffering as best you can, perhaps feeling an echo of it now. It's skillful to put a hand on the heart when you're struggling, so let's try that, because that gesture triggers the release of oxytocin and is soothing. Right. So now see if you can call in a sense of compassion for this challenge. A feeling of care. And then also see if you can give this challenge as much room as it needs in your awareness, imagining your awareness is wide and expansive like a sky, which can hold the difficulty with compassion. And then opening eyes. In our retreat together, at times of challenge, we invite you to set an intention to invoke a refuge of wisdom and love, the refuge of the Buddha. Finding some space around the difficulties so that it doesn't possess you. Yeah. We light a flame, this flame, as a symbol of the refuge of the Buddha, an awakened heart and mind. Next is the refuge of the Dharma. The Dharma in Pali, Dharma means truth or nature. So we can combine those two words together and consider the Dharma the true nature of things. True nature of reality, really, and particularly for us, the true nature of the cause of suffering and its end. For our purposes this weekend, we'll keep that really simple. The gist of the Dharma is that suffering is caused by clinging. And you'll hear this a lot this weekend. Suffering is caused by clinging. And you can't hear it enough. I can't hear it enough. I have to be reminded of it all the time. I'm suffering. Oh, clinging. Especially since this is a foundational retreat, when you find yourself struggling, you can just ask yourself, what am I clinging to, right? So when you're not happy or upset in a way, or not really a fan of what's happening right now, you don't like the schedule, you don't like the food, you don't like that you can't sit where you want to sit, whatever it is that you don't like, you can ask yourself, what am I clinging to? And oftentimes just that simple question is enough to help you find some ease. Yeah, just the question. There's some steps that you can take after you identify what you're clinging to, which is the lifetime of practice, really. But identifying the clinging is a good start. And tomorrow I'll talk about 4 ways of working with suffering when it arises. Yeah. So we'll do a guided reflection now on the refuge of the Dharma. So I invite you to close your eyes again, softening the body, and taking a mindful breath or 2. And recalling a moment in practice or not in practice when you were struggling in some way, and let it not be more than a 4 on that 10-point scale. And it could be the same difficulty from earlier or a new one. Recall it as thoroughly as you can, perhaps feeling an echo of it now. Ask yourself, what am I clinging to? And see what comes up. Ask yourself again, what am I clinging to? and see if anything else comes up. And finally, a third time, what am I clinging to? And noticing what happens in your body, heart, and mind as you work with this repeating question. In our retreat together in times of challenge, we invite you to remember the refuge of the Dharma, the teachings, the path we're on, the clear knowledge that suffering is caused by clinging. Opening eyes now. We light this flame as a symbol of the refuge of the Dharma we know. Of the Sangha. Sangha means practice community in Pali. Sangha can take the form of a group of people in a class. On a retreat like us, we're creating a Sangha here. Or even all practitioners going back 2,600 years who sincerely study, practice, and learn as one Sangha. Yeah. And in my heart and mind, it's so clear to me that the refuge of the Sangha is the most powerful of them all, and we can already see why. Yeah? The Sangha, the way I see it, contains the other two refuges, right? So all of us here in this room have Buddha nature. We have this wisdom and compassion naturally inside of us. So there's the Buddha right here in this room. And then the teachings of the Dharma unfold in Sangha practice. So we have the Buddha and the Dharma within a Sangha. So Sangha, really queen of them all, I think. The journey we're on can't be learned in a vacuum. It thrives best in the fertile ground of the shared wisdom, experience, and compassion of other students, especially the wise voice also of a teacher. Right? So a Sangha is the embodiment of wisdom, the Dharma, and Buddha nature, compassion, blossoming in this group of people. Yeah. There was a disciple of the Buddha, Ananda really, who was his cousin actually, asked the Buddha once, "Master, are good spiritual friends fully half of the spiritual life?" "No, Ananda," the Buddha replied, "good spiritual friends are the whole of the holy life." So taking refuge in the Sangha involves remembering the sometimes shared journey and difficult one that we're all on, and that we're not alone, and that our human birthright, compassion, is woven through the fabric of this gathering. So for our guided imagery, closing eyes again, softening the body, taking a few mindful breaths, and bring again to your heart and mind some challenge you've had in practice, on retreat or otherwise in your life. Let it not be more than a 4 on the scale. And call the details of the experience to your mind and heart as best you can. The physical sensations, thoughts, and emotions. And repeat to yourself, "I'm not alone. I share this journey with others." And again, same thing, "I'm not alone. I share this journey with others." And noticing what comes up in your body, heart, and mind as you reflect. On our retreat together, we invite you to remember the refuge of the Sangha, both the Sangha we've created here and all Sanghas, the love and support we share for the practice and each other. Opening eyes. We light this flame as a symbol of the Sangha we treasure.